I see people are joining, more and more people are joining. So guys, feel free to use the Zoom chat for like introducing yourself, just letting us know where from you're joining, what's your background. So it will help us a bit to understand like who is on the call. So we will be more helpful on our end as well. So feel free to use the chat and yeah, basically tell us about yourself a bit. And I guess we are ready to kick it off, Maryam, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. I hope you're having a great day, afternoon, morning, because we have people from all over the world.
Yeah.
You can also drop in your LinkedIn profile so that you can connect with each other in the Zoom chat.
Oh, really good idea. Yeah, guys. Connect with each other. It's always nice to have more connections. And I will start sharing my screen with my Figma slides. Which one is it? Yeah, this one. So let me quickly switch. So it's us, me. My name is Kristina, and my co-host today is Maryam. So we'll just like quickly introduce ourselves, so you will know who you're talking to today. As I mentioned, my name is Kristina. I'm senior product designer with background in digital marketing. I'm one of the coaches at Liftyz platform. I've been also teaching and mentoring students at Dribbble and other places. So I'm really, really excited to be here today to share my knowledge and hopefully to help you find your next opportunity or learn more about career market and job market right now, because this year is going to be quite crazy. So Miriam, please introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. Hello, everyone. My name is Maryam, and I'm a designer based off in Toronto. I am also a career coach at Liftyz. Besides that, I'm also an educator at Dribbble and other platforms. I also do mentor here in Liftyz and at ADP List. And also, if you reach out on LinkedIn to me, I'm going to guide you in terms of anything that you may need. One interesting fact about me is that I do have a background in microbiology. So if you are a career switcher and you want to talk about career switching, you can also always reach out to me. Over to you,
That's quite
Christina.
that's quite a switch, like from marketing to design is way, way closer than from
Yeah,
microbiology.
it's very different, like from the lab to the desk. That's what I call it.
That's really cool. So, guys, we're really happy to have you here. And today we will really focus on what to expect in the upcoming year with all that craziness around layoffs, especially in tech sector, AI coming here. I don't know if you've seen Sora videos AI. It's amazing. And how it affects product design job search or UX design search. Let's find out. And so we have a slider where you can add your questions and vote for other questions. So we will start our session with answering some common questions that we've noticed, like a lot of people already asked, or we know that are really important to answer. And then we will leave time for answering all the questions in Slido. So depending how many votes you will get to some questions, there is a higher chance for those questions to be answered. I'm not sure if everyone can see the Slido link. Was it posted recently? Oh, so many LinkedIn's. So yeah, just if anyone can repost the Slido link again, just to be sure, it would be super helpful. But let's start with something really important. And I'm noticing this mistake in many, many sessions, especially first sessions I'm having with students, someone who never thought, and they come into the session saying like, there's so many jobs, I'm applying to all of them and no one is replying to me. And I always ask, and what's your goal? What type of job you want to land? And people have no idea how to answer it. And starting your job search without a clear goal is like trying to catch all the fish in the ocean. Can you catch all the fish in the ocean? Probably not. The same with job search. You can't get all the jobs just pointlessly striking in all directions. So you really need to understand what is your goal for this job search. You can narrow it down, you can broaden it later, you can change it depending, but you need to have a clear goal to just understand like what is your ideal job, what type of job you want to land, and then you can move toward this goal with a clear strategy. How to make portfolio that looks like good for this type of job, how to make the resume that will resonate with hiring managers from that company, and so on. And some of the important steps of defining this goal for your job search is to understand your personal goals. What you want. And it doesn't matter if you're just junior designer who entering the job market for the first time, or you're super senior designer trying to find your next opportunity. You need to understand what are your personal goals, in what area of design you want to grow or develop. What are your personal skills, your background that can change it or help you in some way. So understanding your personal goals, what you want to focus on in the coming years of your career, is the foundation of setting a good job search goal for yourself. And then some things like understanding the type of companies you want to work for. Is it like big, small, agency, startup? It's all different types of companies that require different types of resume, different types of public presence, different types of branding that you need to adjust depending on this goal. Or type of work. Do you want to go to the office? Do you want to have a more hybrid model, going to the office a few days a week, or just like, or absolutely working remotely? I see Miriam unmuted herself. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, there's actually a question about the type of company, and I'm just going to read it out. So someone asked, for junior designers, what kind of company should we work to get ourselves in the industry? Product company or design agency? So as Kristina has mentioned, this really depends on your personal goals. Both setups have their advantages and disadvantages. I'm just going to chime in a bit on agency, because I do work in an agency, compared to a product company. So for an agency, there's a variety of projects, and the environment is very fast-paced. So sometimes you might be required to finish a project in maybe a month, compared to a product company where the product is long-term. So maybe you might be, like, for example, you might be working on a platform that helps people find jobs, right? But then if it's an agency, the project might wrap up in 3 months. But if it's a product company, the project might wrap up in maybe 2 years or 3 years. So it's more longer term. So there's no right or wrong. It really depends on what your preference is. If you prefer a fast-paced environment, then an agency is for you. If you prefer a more laid-back and product-focused environment, then a product company is for you. In terms of startups, most startups will require you as a designer to do everything. So this is also something to consider when you're starting out. If you do need mentors, you might not find this in startups, but you might find this in other companies as agencies and other big companies. Yeah.
And also the type of companies that we're not covering here yet is self-employed company. You can also choose a path of freelance. And freelance is quite close to agency work style, except you are the whole agency. So you will provide additional services on top, just being designer, like selling your services, project managing, and so on. So basically, you can also start with freelancing as an option. I would say in the current market, it might be easier for a lot of juniors to start freelancing, because whenever you're freelancing, you're not working with other professional designers. So the level of your design or advanced design system or any advanced design techniques are not so important for regular clients, because your clients most likely will be small businesses that don't have design education, and the way they're choosing designs is just by like, dislike. So if they like your designs, they will pay you for doing the job. If they don't like your designs, they will choose another designer. So freelancing is also an option. And it's really important to understand what type of work, as Maryam mentioned, suits your personality best. Because some people are fast-paced designers. Like for me, super hard to work in bigger companies or where processes move slowly because I can't handle it. I really love moving fast. I'm getting bored of the project. And even if I'm working at a startup with one product, I still need to jump between different features to kind of like refresh myself. Otherwise, I'm getting bored. But I know a lot of designers who prefer to just like to achieve this perfect pixel perfect design on one product, spend like the whole year polishing design system and so on. So choose based on your personality and your preferences as a designer. The one tip that I'm giving to a lot of especially junior designers starting in their careers is to choose industry wisely, because as a founder or as a hiring manager, choosing between a junior designer with a passion for the industry or like personal passion for any activities related to this industry, and a designer who might be even at higher level in design skills, I would choose a passion person, because that's a person who will spend more time working on my project, investing more, having more broader knowledge about the industry and so on, because they're passionate about it. So for example, if you're a fitness person or you spend half of your day in the gym, probably you need to consider fitness and healthcare industry for yourself. Then you will be way more connected to the work you're doing. So industry is also related to your personal preferences. Because if you hate, I don't know, if you hate banking, joining fintech would be a disaster for you. You will be struggling daily on top of just joining a new team.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, industry ties together very well with a sector. And one thing I'm thinking about is transferable skills, especially if you are transitioning from another field to UX design. Say, for example, if you do have a background in finance, then it makes sense for you to join a fintech company, because you will leverage a lot of background knowledge that we also need as designers. If you have a background in architecture, you might end up in a company, in a tech company that deals with architectural companies. In my case, for example, my background is in microbiology. What ended up happening is that I ended up working in a lot of healthcare projects because I can leverage a lot of background experience. So if you do have background experience in other industries, don't feel like you're coming into the UX design industry without anything. There's a lot you can leverage, and this might set you apart from everyone else applying for the same job.
I will be cautious at times. So basically, you see, it's important to choose your goal. There are some criteria you can follow. So screenshot this slide or for yourself just to go through them later. And we will be moving on to the next question. I saw it also on Slido that people were asking about things that design bootcamps don't teach you. And the most mature one that I'm noticing, especially looking at case studies and portfolio of junior designers, is that real design process is absolutely different from this perfect design process that you were taught at design bootcamps. It never happens. Throughout my career, it never happened to me to follow in the perfect design process. Because in real project, you have constraints, you have complexity, you have different blockers on the way to go, and you have edge cases, something that you never, ever consider in bootcamps, because everything is very prepared for you to go through this bootcamp journey.
Yeah, just to chime in, Kristina, sometimes you are called into a project at different stages of the project. So maybe someone might need you to do research, or maybe someone might need you to do visual design. So yeah, you can be called in at any point. It doesn't mean you have to do everything, you know. It's very ad hoc in the industry.
Yeah, and on top of it, business of design is very important. The business aspect, things that I tell almost every mentor session I start is like, remember why you hired. You're hired not just for helping users, even though it's a good goal to have. You need to think of users. You need to be an advocate for user journeys. But you hired to make money for the business. So you need to think about the business side of your designs all the time because that's why you hired. Companies paying you salary not because you're a wonderful designer and they love your portfolio, because they're earning money with their products. And having a good user experience for your users, for your customers is amazing. But we are not just for pretty things here. We are also business people and we're heavily involved. Designers are way more involved in the business side than developers or QA engineers or anyone else in the team, except for product managers. So think of yourself as a product owner or business owner from time to time, because it will help you to understand how to approach your design or how to explain your design to leadership and stakeholders.
An example of how you can think about business objectives when you're designing is, say, for example, I come in and I tell you, oh, I do have a goal to increase users on my website. So, and that's the business goal. So it's upon you as the designer to figure out how to design an experience that's going to pull in more users into the website. So that's just an example of how business and design intersects in the industry.
Yeah. Another thing that is not very presented is collaboration and work with cross-functional teams. Because first of all, in the bootcamp, you don't really collaborate with other juniors or with designers. So you're not getting taught the skills of working with other designers on the team, sharing design system, and so on. So you are quite solo designer at this stage. And also you don't understand the level of involvement with other team members, working with developers, helping them to develop better or build faster is your responsibility. You don't understand it as a junior that you will be heavily involved in development area or Q&A area, because testing your final designs, no one will do the testing better than designers sometimes, because you originally designed it. You almost remember how many pixel paddings you have on those buttons. So you will be the perfect first tester person who will go through all the screens trying to understand if it's the same as you designed them originally. And another huge element that is always lacking is soft skills. Because a lot of juniors are coming with a good Figma skills of understanding research, the design process, and so on. And then they are lacking the soft skills, because 80% of senior designer roles is about soft skills. Communicating with everyone, everywhere, all the time, selling UX. The unexpected thing, you are joining a company and apparently no one cares about UX. It's your job to sell it. It's your job to explain why we need to care about users, why we should not do harmful patterns, why this is a dark pattern and we can't do it because it will eventually kill the business. It's your job to sell UX in that way.
Yeah, Kristina, just to chime into communication, this also involves good presentation and writing skills. So you might, in terms of writing skills, you might be required to write reports and present this to folks to see, you can, in terms of writing skills, you might be required to write reports for things like maybe you did a research session and people want to know how the outcomes were. So in terms of writing, this is really important. The other thing is emails. Sometimes you might need to communicate with stakeholders via email. Not all of them will be on Slack. So it's really important to figure out how to communicate with them in a very professional way. And then in terms of presentation skills, you might have to polish the presentation skills. I'm not sure how much they do at the bootcamp, but it takes a lot of practice for you to be able to present to stakeholders and make sure that instead of just presenting designs, you're also tying in the business goals.
Speaking of presentation, if you will check Liftyz YouTube channel, we have a recorded session on presenting like a pro, where I've been sharing some secrets how to present your portfolio, your case studies, even during the interview or in your real work. So feel free to watch it whenever you have time. But presentation is really important. Sometimes it's 90% of your success in career environment or corporate environment is how well you can present your ideas, your findings, your insights, and your designs. It's not even about your skills or how beautiful your designs. It's about how you present them in 90% of the time in corporate environments. So consider this skill very important. And obviously, something that is not very common for bootcamps is working with existing design system. When you join in, especially for startups and larger companies, you join in a company where a design system already exists, and you need to work within those constraints. You can't redesign it. You can't do whatever you want. You need to learn it and so on. So I'm noticing that a lot of designers are a bit shocked at like, how do I design things? I can't do anything. I can't affect it. First of all, you can affect it. Design system is a living organism. It's not just something that was created and here forever. But on top of it, within those constraints, your creativity can actually boost, because you don't need to focus on those small elements that are required by design system. You can focus on actually solving the problem and helping users instead. So I will be moving to designer's job search kit for that year. And even for junior designers, this kit is more professional than it used to be a couple of years ago. Because a couple of years ago, I remember juniors entering the industry with like portfolio in Notion, or like, I will send you my portfolio over email. Right now, the competition is very tough. So you need all aspects of your kit to be polished, professional, and ready for the market, even as a junior. The key 3 pillars that I especially find important to kind of like to focus on is, it all starts with base layer of personal branding. If you don't have your personal unique branding, your authenticity, the way to stand out, how to differentiate you from like thousands of other juniors, how to understand that you're a different person, because sometimes I'm looking at portfolios and I can just replace the name with anyone else and nothing will change, nothing will get lost. It's a bad sign, because your personal brand is a foundation of your presence online, of your resume, of your portfolio, of your case studies and everything. It's a foundation that you need to have to continue working on the other aspects. And on top of this foundation, you need professional portfolio. It's not professional to send your Figma files anymore, or PDF, or whatever you can come up with to avoid building your personal website. You need a professional website as a designer in 2024. And luckily for users, a lot of tools like Framer, Webflow, to do not start even from scratch, to buy a very like affordable theme and just like fill out with your personal branding. So it's a skill. It's a time-consuming step that you need to invest your time and plan it. And once you have this professional portfolio, the final pillar that a lot of people forget about is to have value-focused case studies, or just in general featuring your value for the companies. Because as a hiring manager, I'm not interested in the features you've been working on, or just like what features were created, or what concepts were created. I'm interested in what value you can bring to my company I'm hiring you for. What is your value? So what you can bring here.
Yeah, Kristina, just to add into that, I've seen a couple of designers do this, that if, say, for example, I'm applying for a fintech company, then I'll make sure that the case studies I have are fintech focused. If I'm applying to a healthcare company, then the case studies I have are healthcare focused. So this is not a must. It's a lot of work to have all those case studies, but it also just helps you stand out. But then again, it also means that you'll be changing your case studies over and over again, depending on the job that you're applying for. So it's really a case by case situation, but you can do it if you want to stand out.
Yeah, and also like having a great resume is already industry standard, and I would suggest to think of your resume as, first of all, value-based resume, so you're featuring values you can bring to any company looking for you, and you need to think of SEO a bit, like, so like when you Googling something and you see the top 3 results, most likely you're not going further. You're not going on the 10th page of Google to check what others are writing about this topic. The same thing with your resume. A recruiter needs to see keywords they are looking for in this particular job description in your resume. So those keywords will help them quickly connect. Oh, I'm looking for a UX designer. This person is UX designer. That's a good match. Then probably I need, for UX designer, I need this list of skills. So it's UX research. Oh, look, I see the list of skills that almost like 80% the same as my job description. So recruiters and automated systems, they work a bit as Google right now. They just matching those keywords with their expectations. So your resume should have those keywords. They should be aligned with what they're looking for. And you need to prepare for the interviews, because once you have this beautiful foundation, there are multiple ways to fail at the interview process. Because right now, interview process is getting more challenging and complex because they don't have that much time to figure out if you're a good designer or not. They do want to check it during the interview process. So there are a growing demand on whiteboard challenges, live design challenges, and any like homework tasks that you are taking with you and then presenting next day or so on. So it's getting quite normalized. And if you're never done whiteboard challenge, it might be quite stressful experience doing it live for the first time in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also important to note that different companies interview differently. So if you're going to an interview, reach out to the hiring manager and ask them what the interview process is like. If you can get the information from the hiring manager, you can search on Google. There's a platform called Glosdoor where you can filter based on the interviews, so you can check the kind of questions people get asked to. The other way you can do this is reach out to someone on LinkedIn in a similar position that you're applying for, and also just ask them what the interview process is like. And this will just help you better prepare for the interview.
So let's move to the next question, because I've seen it in Slido as well, Slido, featuring data, impact, outcomes in conceptual projects, personal projects, your educational projects at boot camps and so on. It's really hard to showcase that you're capable of gathering data and following this data kind of like data-driven design in boot camps and so on. So the first thing I really recommend everyone is not lying. Whenever I see those like quite fake approaches to kind of follow this perfect design process while lacking the data or not having access to users, it's absolutely makes your portfolio look unprofessional, and also you feel not trustworthy anymore. Once I see someone trying to lie about the data they gathered that they did not, it's absolutely like red flag for any hiring manager or any design manager. So the first and most important step, be honest and write your constraints. So once you added your constraints, once you, in the beginning of your case study or resume saying like, it's educational projects. I didn't have access to millions of users. We didn't build this app and we couldn't test it on millions of users. It's totally fine because you are acknowledging the fact that you know that you should do it, but you could not, which is true because you could not do it in the bootcamp project or a conceptual project. But you, for the hiring manager, you're showcasing that you're honest and you're aware of what you should do, but you could not. So constraints are really important. I hope you understand it. And defining your success is very important. Even though you won't be able to track those metrics, for example, you won't be able to track how the design you did affects the user acquisition or user engagement in the real product, you still can list those KPIs as something that you would track if you can. And also, you still can track some KPIs, even with conceptual or personal projects. You can still do user interviews and usability testing on a small group of people. And the people who suffer the most of having designer in their friends and family is friends and family, because whenever you lack user feedback, you go to them and ask them, oh, could you please go through my prototype? And I know it's not perfect and you should not like pretend you did the professional usability testing throughout your family and friends, but it's some kind of user feedback that you can work on to showcase that you understand that like the goal of designer is to receive those insights from users and implement them in your design. So even using your friends and family is a good starting point to gather this initial data and feature in your portfolio.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing you can use to define success is the project goals. So maybe if your project goals were to maybe redesign something, and then at the end of the project you did that, then that's also a form of success. That is if you don't have real world experience. Kristina, in the chat, there was a question about what are the constraints. Kristina has mentioned some of them, yeah.
Yeah, I was just checking the chat. So constraints is any blockers you're facing, any challenges you are facing during performing your design skills. So it might be like lack of user feedback, development blockers. So for example, if you're working with developer, they would say, no, we can't build it. It's your constraint, it's your blocker. You can't design something that they can't build. So there is a lot of different blockers or constraint or design challenges you will be facing in your career. But basically, once you listing them out in the beginning of your case study, because you are only the one person who knows what you've been challenged with, you explain in the hiring managers that you're aware of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think a huge one is time constraint, which is something we experience day to day in the industry. Sometimes maybe you need to finish a project in 3 months, but the time is not enough. And because of that, you might need to cut down the scope. And what I mean by this is that you might not design the whole experience, or maybe you can design very few features in the experience.
Yeah, and also like probably resources is an important constraint as well to mention, like any like lack of resources on anything where you like been not having enough resources. If you're a single designer, you can't do both research, design, implement, and so on. So basically resources is quite a common constraint. And you always need to include a very important part of your case study, next steps and reflections, because it's when you can promise your future outcomes and your future impact. If I had more time to work on this project addressing the time constraint, I would do that and that and that. I wish I had more time to solve this. So this is the area where you can address these constraints one more time and say, like, I faced this blocker. That's how I solved the problem within those problems and challenges. And that's how I would do it differently if this challenge wasn't presented. So it's a very powerful part of your case study to have.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, the other thing you can add in addition to the learnings, is what surprised you. Like what surprised you about the whole process. Maybe you found some parts of the design process challenging, or maybe you learned particular things about the industry you were designing for. So that's a really good thing to add in there.
Oh, it reminded me that I forgot to mention a very important element of any case study. Every time when I think case study just about the feature or the product, I'm getting very disappointed, because case study is story about you as a designer solving the problem through a feature. Feature is somewhere at the end of the sentence, because it's your story, how you did it, how you learned it, how you understood it, and how you solved it, and what you can do similar for my company you're applying for. So this storytelling of your case study is really important. And the hero of this story is not the feature, the product, the prototype, not even the users. You are the hero of this story. So it's very important to understand that, like, through the lens of hiring manager, I'm looking forward to hiring a person, not a feature, not a prototype, not the bunch of users you've been testing it on. I'm hiring a person, and you will be joining my team working with people, not not someone else. So it's really important to understand that the main hero of this story is you, the designer. And let's move forward to our last slide, and we will switch to the questions in Slido. But we have the Product Design Career Accelerator cohort coming on March 4th, next week. We have only a few seats left, so if you would like to join and get a more structured, framework-based approach on how to approach your resume, your portfolio, your case studies, so basically gather like a bunch of checklists and understanding how the hiring process in 2024 works and how to successfully to go through it, then I would really suggest you joining our upcoming cohort, where me and Maryam will be also coaching and teaching everyone. So let's jump into Slido.
Yeah, let's jump in.
So I will probably bring the Slido. Actually, I can just like look at it. So guys, I would really ask you to be more active on voting, because it will help us to prioritize questions. We have quite a lot. We will try to go through all of them, but please vote for questions you find important. And I hope like everyone has access to Slido and so on. And I see the cover letter. The cover letter question moved to the top immediately. Yes, cover letter is time consuming, but it's mandatory. Unfortunately, we're still living in those ages where you need a cover letter, and it needs to be a personalized cover letter and not ChatGPT written cover letter, because first of all, hiring managers already recognizing ChatGPT written letters, because imagine they're getting thousands of them and they just really the same. Secondly, they're still checking them, and they still will be not particular like reading word to word, but they will be scanning them, the keywords, and understanding like if you even check the job description, if you're aware what they're looking for. So it's really important. And the best advice I can give you on how to make it more time efficient is to make them shorter. Don't write I don't know, the story of your life in 10 pages. It's not in ebook, it's a cover letter. And the shorter you will explain why you're suitable for this role and why you're interested, your personal motivators, the easier it will be for both sides to understand like it's a match.
Just to chime in, Kristina, for the cover letters, also just try not make it too long or too short. Just find a balance in a way that someone can just scan through in maybe a minute and know what you're talking about.
Yeah, a minute is generous. I would say
Yeah,
10 seconds, because like
oh, yeah, 10 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, you have like 10 seconds of attention span from hiring manager and around 3 seconds for your portfolio. Uh, I'm kidding, like sometimes it's 5. But you have to understand how quickly they're moving through list of candidates. So you have to understand how important it is to present the most important information to them quickly. So another question I see is about graphic design background, that a person is planning to get into the UX industry. And Chloe is trying to understand how she can sell herself with her graphic background. First of all, it's really, really helpful to have graphic design background, because UI is a huge part of product design. So you need it here. And on top of it, you can create a very outstanding personal branding for yourself that will make you stand out in front of thousands of other junior designers or even senior designers applying for this position. So it's very valuable. And you can just like feature it as simply as like, I have background in graphic design. So on top of like my passion for UX, I can help with doing social media posts or so on. So basically, you need to explain what type of graphics you're capable to producing, even though it's not directly connected to being a product designer or UX designer. It's still super, super helpful, because design can't exist without graphics, really. Yes, we can use packages, but we still need visual support everywhere.
Yeah, and also in terms of graphic design, there's a lot of design principles like color theory that are shared in product design. So you're going to leverage a lot of that. It's going to be easier for you to do visual design. The other thing is there's a lot of transferable skills from graphic design besides visual design. I'm thinking you are working in a team environment, so there's also that. You are working with I'm not sure if you're working with developers, but bringing in the experience of working in a cross-functional team will really help you in UX design as well, or product design.
Yeah, it's really good. If you have past experience working with a team, it's an advantage, because as I mentioned, senior roles is like 80% communication with everyone else, not that much design as you're expecting. So let's move on. So anonymous question, who has years of experience in B2C and struggling to break into B2B, SaaS, fintech, tech. It's a tricky one. So I think like storytelling would be especially important for you, and like personal brand. It's all about how you frame it. So whenever we think like people really love to divide B2B and B2C, like B2B world is absolutely different. You need, I don't know, absolutely different portfolio and so on. Yes, you slightly need kind of like different visual language. It has like different aesthetics and so on. But something that helps with framing you different is like B2B people, when they come home back from their work, who they are. They are B2C. They're using the same apps outside of their wonderful job. They're using Tinder, Instagram, Spotify. They are B2C users and its core. And I think the separation is sometimes really strong, sometimes too strong, because whenever someone works with B2B too much, they forget that they're working with people. They start working with robots, with corporate robots. And that's why we have so many terrible B2B designs and products that are barely working, especially large systems like CMS and so on, that like are really, really hard to use for people, and where you need the whole learning educational process to start efficiently working with them. And I think that's partly the reason is this differentiation of B2B and B2C. So you can wrap it differently. You can use your personal branding to showcase that you can have a different look at B2B and actually make their product to stand out.
Yeah, just to add into that, first of all, it's an advantage that you're already in the industry doing B2C. So what I will do is reach out to folks on LinkedIn who are working in B2B to understand what their day-to-day looks like. And then from that, figure out what the gaps I have are and build on that. I think that will be really helpful, especially getting experience from someone who actually works in the same, in that space that you're looking into breaking into. Or you can also ask questions like what a day in a life looks like, to figure out what that would look like for you and if it's something you really want to.
I would say like the major difference between B2B and B2C is about design mindset, because B2B sphere is more about going techie, solving complex problems, going deep into understanding that technology and working way, way, way more closely with developers and stakeholders than in B2C. In B2C, you're just like designing screens, developers building it, and it's pushed to average user. While with B2C, the system is more complex and requires more connection and complexity and more. So if you're a designer who's more interested in techie side, you might be more suitable for B2B as well. But let's move to a different question. So another question is about how many years of experience to mention. If you have 6 years experience in visual design or 3 years in UX. So I see we already answered it, but I would just add a small note that like, I would say the years of experience don't matter that much as you think. People don't judge your design by how many years you've been doing it. They judge you by your portfolio, personal branding, and your final work. So the small few years difference that won't make you a great job, a great difference in application process, or will help you stand out. Your branding, your actual work, your outcomes and values will. So focus on it instead of like calculating a few more years. Oh, my favorite question about using Notion as portfolio. Well, it's a good starting point from organizational perspective just to prepare. And also, for example, I draft all my case studies and portfolio in Notion first, because it's basically where I hold my content creation, where my summary of mentor sessions, learning materials live. It's my brain in digital way. But as I mentioned, it's not very professional. And in 2024, you will simply fall behind a lot of designers with their professionally designed beautiful portfolios in Framer or Webflow. So you can go risky, but it lowers your chances to land a job. So what do we have else? So do employers typically count internship experience toward overall years of professional experience? Well, if you did the job, yes. You weren't just having fun and drinking coffee. I'm pretty sure you've been working hard. You can even count your boot camp if you've been working hard or not just like having fun. But as I mentioned, again, years of experience is not something that like automatically brings you a job. I've been when we've been hiring for Sweatcoin, for example, we've been interviewing people with 20 years of experience in design that are absolutely not suitable, outdated, and I don't know where they spent those 20 years designing, but definitely not in the modern design industry. So years of experience are not a guarantee for you to land a job. It has
Yeah.
a minimal effect on your success.
Yeah, just to add into that, Kristina, in terms of internship, it's really important for you to go into an internship with a clear goal of what you want to do, so that whatever experience you get there can actually help you get a real job. And this is something I've seen with a lot of interns. It's like they're not really sure of what to do in the workplace. So sometimes they're given something that doesn't really matter, or maybe they'll spend too much time on one skill instead of polishing what experience that is valuable. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of internship.
I see a new question from Kristina. Oh, hello. We're almost there. What are some strategies for finding freelance opportunities? And it's a great question because it's getting tougher in the current market. Layoffs bring more designers, they bring more freelancers trying to find their gigs. And the first advice I always give in everyone trying to kind of like just start in freelancing, like you've never done it before, you have zero connection, you're just like trying to break in, is to start with your closest network. You need portfolio of freelance projects as well for people to understand that you're capable of making their websites come true or their design tasks come true. And starting with your smaller network, it like helping your friends, helping anyone, a local, I don't know, a local store to have a website or anything like that is a good start, because yeah, you won't get in that much money in the beginning, but you will gain this experience on how to approach a freelance project, how to structure it, how to sell your skills, how to manage the project, how to understand how much time it takes for you to design a website. Because for the first time, you have no idea, is it 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12, a year? So you need to gain this first experience. And the easiest way is to start with your smallest network. Just start doing, instead of reading more, researching more, and learning more, just start doing real projects over conceptual, over just imagery projects.
Yeah, just to add into that, Kristina, something that I have seen to be impactful is volunteering for not-for-profit organizations, because the impact is really high. And if you bring that impact into your case study as a freelancer, it elevates you and it helps you stand out from everyone else.
And personal advice is to try starting with e-commerce. E-commerce is an industry that always need designers, and they always have money, because the better their store looks, the more they sell, the more money they have. So e-commerce is a very interesting industry to start freelancing. And it's easier start because small businesses, so they don't need like, they won't hire a super mega professional senior designer. First of all, they didn't have budget for this person. Secondly, they would be afraid even to reaching out to the super mega professional. So you have a higher chance to land a job, and also have a highly impactful portfolio, because e-commerce stores where you can actually measure your success, even in freelance projects, which is rare for freelance projects. Janice, how are you doing? Question for you.
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm just trying my best to answer the questions on Slido right now. So yeah, just continue to send your question. I'm trying my best to answer all the questions.
Yeah, I saw a question about the salary range for entry level, but it's so different for every country. Guys, add more details. Is it US, Canada, Europe, Australia, UK? Their things are pretty bad. Sorry for you, UK. If we have someone from UK, it's bad.
Just the type of company. Well, yeah, tech companies, they tend to be more generous, and agencies tend to pay less, unfortunately.
Yeah, but what I can add into that is, if you want to know about a reasonable salary range, is to do your research in your region to see what people are being paid, and also just see what the different companies pay. I know if you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, they might not be transparent to that information, but you can find that information online, especially on platforms like Glosdoor. But make sure you do your research if someone offers you a job position, so that you can know how to negotiate.
And also with Glosdoor, it's a bit tricky whenever you look at larger platforms collecting salary, because it's based on like most likely senior or top salaries. There are not so many information about juniors. So it's a bit tricky. I would say research is the best friend. So some companies list their salaries. So at least based on them, you can have some kind of range in mind. And then you can just move 30% down or up from this range, trying to understand. So this is most likely the market range. So what's our next question? Someone is working on presentation for upcoming interview, and they're not sure what projects they can present and what kind of presentation structures they need to create. Ooh, it's a very long topic about presentation structure, but the shortest advice I can give you is about storytelling. Build your structure around your story and start with the sexiest part of your story. Start with a hook, something that will make them want to listen to the end of your presentation. The sexiest part, unexpected surprise you discovered, an outcome, something strange, anything that will have this hook for a person to get interested in your presentation and tell your story. Build your presentation structure not around templates, not around other examples from the internet, but around your real story for this case study.
Yeah, just to chime in, Kristina, I'd also look at the job description to see what type of information or skills they're looking for, and also just try bring that into my presentation, because that will set you apart from everyone else.
We are running out of time, but I really want to tackle this question because we mentioned AI into our topic today, and someone asked if learning AI tools like Midjourney important for product designer. Yes. First of all, you need to be aware of all the industry trends, not only Midjourney, just all the AI tools. You need to understand, like it's becoming a part of toolkit for designers. So just having a basic understanding of how they work, how you can use, what you can get out of them is super beneficial for you as a designer. First of all, it can help you to stand out as a candidate. Secondly, it's just becoming part of the industry. It's getting there, and AI is getting big. And despite all the beliefs that it's going to replace designers, I think we will be working in collaboration with those AI tools. So we need to learn how to use them to speed up our process, to make it more efficient, to make maximum value for us as designers out of those tools. Make them your friends, not enemies. And that's kind of the way to grow and develop and be efficient designer in general, not related to job search or career stuff. It's just being aware of the latest trend and being together with them, being friends, not enemies. So should we wrap up, or do we have time for one more question?
Let's do that.
Guys, do you want to vote for the last question? The question who gets the most votes. Let's do it. Don't see anyone moving up. Oh yeah. Yes, we have a new leader. Don't you think it would be a bit awkward to go to a Glassdoor to inquire about UX design in hiring? I would prefer doing it online on LinkedIn, indeed. Yes, it would be weird. In general, like we have different levels of comfort. someone of us are more easygoing, we can break into the store and say, oh, you know, your website is so ugly, can I redesign it? I know designers like that, but I also know very silent designers who do amazing job. So you need to go with your comfort zone. Whatever way you prefer is the best way to go, because it will be aligning with your personality and your comfort zone. You need to kind of like push those barriers of comfort zone, but not to stretch it too much. So if you're more comfortable to reaching out to this company online, even like, you can just message them on Instagram. I'm not sure if they will be very responsive on LinkedIn, because they're getting bombarded by a lot of messages, especially hiring managers. But if it's a small company, you can just message them on Instagram saying, you know, I think your website could be better. I had some time, so here's my draft. If you like it, I would redesign it for you.
Yeah, Kristina, so just to clarify, was it Glosdoor or Glosdoor? I think
Glosdoor, I think.
it says
At least,
Glosdoor.
yeah.
I think Rand, could you maybe clarify if it's a glass store, like a store selling glass, or glass
Because
store?
I got it as a store selling glass.
Oh yeah, glass, yeah. Store selling glass. Sure.
So funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Glassdoor is actually a website that has a lot going on in terms of jobs and insights, company insights.
Oh, it's also a site. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard of it. Learning something new. So I hope my answer still works with going with the most comfortable way for yourself, because you need to push those boundaries of your comfort zone, but not too much. Otherwise, you will break as a glass. So some final words for you guys. I know the market is tough, but you're tougher. First of all, you did already the first step. You joined us live to learn what's going on, what you can improve, and what are the main areas to focus in 2024. So you already did your first step. You're already better than hundreds of other candidates. So it's a good beginning. And if you want to polish your case studies, polish your portfolio, make sure you're ready for this year, you can always join our Product Design Career Accelerator. If not next cohort, we will be having cohort after that, I hope. Since the job market is tough, we're still having cohorts. So join us there, or just continue pushing, continue growing your portfolio, make sure you're ready for this market. And the market is competitive, so you need to really, really push harder that year. That's the truth. But in those hard times and tough times, we're getting brilliance polished. So polish your brilliant. Any last words from you guys?
I think for me, I just want to wish everyone the very best. If they have any questions, they can always reach out to us. But at Liftyz, we do a great job in helping you get ready for your next job in terms of your portfolio or your resume, and even interview preparation, including whiteboard challenges. So this platform would be a great platform for you if you want to elevate your career.
And also we have an open free community with some free resources. So you can join at least a free community and get access to some amazing resources gathered by Janus and other coaches in the team and students. And also, if you will find amazing resources yourself, please share it with others, because when we share, we help each other, we help the whole design community to become a better place for designers. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. We really appreciate it. And we had a lot of fun answering your questions. And I hope you found this answers valuable as well and insightful for your job search this year. And until next time, guys.